So we are completing another cycle. So today I want to invite you to give permission for completion for your year. And it's a year, and there's no time and space really, but it's a cycle, and the earth is a cyclical system. So give permission to complete this cycle for yourself with satisfaction, with to honor what you sow you. So with satisfaction, because writing this, I realized that your actions is what looks after you in life. Your actions is what looks after you in life. Sorry, no, baby. I'm sorry, I just spit on my dog. I just want to switch on the light here. It's so dark. Just bring some light onto the subject so I can see. Officer's very dark. Sorry, my babes. Did I run over you? Sorry. So let's start again. So I also give permission for this morning to be pleasantly surprised. And it's very important that when you give yourself permission to be surprised, I give myself to be pleasantly surprised. I give myself permission to be surprised by myself. I give myself permission so that what I am and who I am surprise myself. But always make sure that you include that it must be a pleasant surprise, because surprises can also be curveballish and unwelcome too. So you don't want to give permission for just any surprise. Don't leave it open to life or to the universe to decide for you. Make sure that you choose it to be a pleasant surprise, because your actions is what is looking after you. What you are contributing. What are you contributing right now as you're sitting here to this completion being possible? What are you contributing to this completion being possible for yourself? So become still, become considerate, and have contemplation. What am I contributing to this completion being a pleasant and satisfactory conclusion of this cycle for my life? Because most importantly, you don't want to carry stuff from this year into the next year. And that is how we live on earth. You know, it's a cycle of life and death. And we're constantly carrying into the next life what we've done with the previous life, and so on and so on. You know, you carry into your future what you did yesterday. And it's this continuous repetition and repeat. And see if you can start with the consciousness, with an awareness, to stop that continuation of repetition that we have in our lives. You know what the Queen, same shit, different day. See if we can start making a conscious choice and speak something different over our lives. Because remember that on this plane, when it was created, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was what changed the status quo. So although I give myself permission to be pleasantly surprised, I'm offered challenging lessons that leaves me feeling pleasantly surprised but perplexed. So the pleasant surprise doesn't always come as a hoo, yay, yay, rah, rah thing. It can also be leaving you perplexed, confused, displeased, you know, and this normally leads to fear. And that fear, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How am I going to manage this? How am I going to pull this through? How am I going to get all this work done? That's all forms of fear. So, how am I going to get, whenever you have a question mark about your own delivery, that leads to fear. And fear leads to anger, and anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. So when there is fear, you become angry. Now, why must I have all this to do? Why does everything always rest on my shoulders? Why must I have this injury? Why must I go through this? Why am I labeled with this? Why does all the... Can you see what I'm saying? So the minute there's fear, it moves you into some form of anger, because anger is the energy, anger is the emotion that gets you going. Because when you're angry, you're going to speak your mind, you're going to get things done. That's why fear leads to anger. But now, because we don't deal with it properly, we don't attend to it properly, we don't process it, we don't conclude it, we don't complete it properly, anger then becomes hate. Then you hate your job, you hate your spouse, you hate your circumstances, you hate, you know, again, why can't I be as wealthy as so and so? Look how wonderful their life is. Look how easy things are for them. And please, I'm not preaching for you, because I do the same. I teach best what I need to learn most. I do the same. But then that anger becomes hate. And when you sit with that hate and it festers, that hate is normally driven by uncontested resentments, because you have compromised yourself. So that hate then festers in your heart, it festers in your body, it festers in the way that your body functions, and hate leads to suffering. That's why you end up suffering. So today, I want you to be very honest. Be honest and review in a detached way your suffering. The things that made you suffer this year. So I want you to just take the whole year from January 1 and take it right through to this moment. And look at the things that you encountered that made you suffer. The people, the events, the circumstances, and then you take a good look, because it'll flash. You don't have to sit and tick, 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 tick. It'll flash past your eyes, you'll see it. The things that made you suffer, the people, the events, the circumstances, and see, if you look at the things that made you suffer, then you will see. You can also do this again later. It's okay. You can take the same exercise and go and do it later. But for now, just let it flash past your mind's eye. And then if you look at the things that made you suffer, the people, the events, the circumstances, see if you can see a common denominator. You know, review in a detached way your suffering. In other words, I don't want you to now go and climb into the suffering and feel it all over again. I want you to review it in a detached way. Here you are, and over there is your life, and you're reviewing your life. So you review it in a detached way, the things that made you suffer, and you'll see there's a common denominator. And very often that common denominator that made you suffer is blame. You either blamed yourself or you blamed them. You blamed the other, the thing, the event, the circumstance. It's because of that I am now suffering. But it's always because of a choice that you've made. So now, question mark. Do you want to suffer and repeat in 2023? Do you now, with the consciousness that you currently have, that you're working very hard to cultivate and build and make stronger, when will we begin? When will we begin to make that mark where we can see here is real change? I am not repeating in 2023 what came across my path in 2022. Now, the question, and I know I always say to you, the how is not your business. The how is not your business. And if you've lived the philosophies that I've shared with you to date, you will see that the how is not your business. Because when you get to that moment, you will be guided, you are shown, you are given all the support you need, you have everything that you need in order to succeed. You are given enough to manage every day. Every day. The how is not your business, but the creative process is. Can you see that? The creative process is your business. You are the one who sets the creative process in, and you are the one who initiates that creative process, because you are the one who is asked to use your faculties, the power that you have to dictate energy, you are asked to use that. Now I'm going to read to you some words which was written by I don't, his name is not on this document, but I take it that it will be head of learning, my teacher Stephen Anthony Farah from the Center for Applied Union Studies in South Africa. So he said that Jung believed that the psyche contained all that is required for wholeness. But the ego is trapped in a rational, reductive perspective, which cuts us off from the healing power of the imagination. Now, I want to say to you this morning, we are in for some very challenging times in terms of health in the future because of this COVID thing. This COVID thing is by long shot not over. There's a new wave of COVID that's going to hit us, and it's going to be intense and severe. And you now need, because I can tell you it's coming, there's no question about it, and people are going to get very sick because the COVID that's coming now is going to be 3-4 times as severe as what it's been to date. The virus is going to be stepped up significantly in terms, also because of its own morphing and its own resistance towards the medication and things that it's presented with. It's continuously morphing because, you know, there are two sides to the story. Mother Earth needs to reduce the human population significantly and urgently in order for the entire whole to continue. So you now need to know that your imagination is a key factor for your future and for your continuation and for your survival. So that's why I'm sharing this with you today, so that in the holiday period, you, while we're not working, and perhaps I only meet with you again in February, that you can exercise your ability to use your imagination. And Dr. Carl Gustav Jung, the father of psychology, established active imagination as one of the most powerful tools of depth psychology and Jungian psychology. So imagination connects us to our desires. It brings together the past, the present, and the future, and provides us with the means to build a cohesive story of our lives, to discern the meaning of our lives. Imagination is therefore it's therefore the agency that enables us. It's an agency. It's like an organization. It's an agency that enables us to create our world and to keep creating new and endless possibilities, infinite possibilities. What the mind can conceive, the body can achieve. And even if you have an injury, even if you have a situation in your body, your imagination can create miracles for you. Imagination connects us with movement and change, compels us towards the new. Now, here I'm going to quote in the words of Jung. The great joy of play, fantasy, and the imagination is that for a time we are utterly spontaneous, free to imagine anything, in such a pure state of pure being. No thought is unthinkable. Isn't that amazing? In such a pure state of pure being, no thought is unthinkable. And it's the great joy of play. And this is from his book, Jung on Active Imagination, page 5. So throughout his work, Jung came to recognize that the imaginal world and the world of imagery, the world of our imagination, fantasies, and dreams was an authentic reality. And I refer to it as a dimensionality, but it was an authentic reality. In other words, just as real as the world in which we live, that this imaginal world contained a magic miracle formula of inner knowledge and wisdom, and not just a little. It was a gathering, it was a conglomeration, it was a collectiveness of this. It contains this imaginal world contains a collection, a whole bunch, a whole cauldron, if you like, a whole big pot full of inner knowledge and wisdom. So every good idea and creative work are the offspring of your imagination, and it and have their source in fantasy, not the artist alone. It's not just applicable to artists and creatives in that sense. You need to now start activating your right brain, because the left brain is the cage of logic. So the right brain, every creative individual whatsoever, owes all that is greatest in their life to fantasy. The dynamic principle of fantasy is play, a characteristic of the child, of the inner child, and as such, it appears inconsistent with the principle of serious work, because that's the problem. The problem is that we have been conditioned to believe that when we play, we're not responsible, we're not contributing, we're not accountable, because play has always been uh, uh, given to us as a space of irresponsibility, of not taking accountability for your life. But it's everything but. So, and this is now, I'm still reading for you here. The dynamic principle of fantasy is play, a characteristic also of the child, and as such, it appears inconsistent with the principle of serious work. But without this playing, with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. Also quoted from Jung, and I'm not going to go into paragraph 6, paragraph 93, page 6, whatever. So that's not important. We know that these words were spoken by Jung. So here Jung is telling us that whatever we are, whenever we are children, or we think of ourselves as an inner child, whether we are conscious of it or not, imaginative activity goes on within us all the time. And that this imaginative activity is part of our inborn psyche. It's integral, expressed in many ways, through play, through dreams, through fantasy, through creativity, through active imagination. So I'm planting the seed for you today, because I think if we can go into 2023 with a very pronounced and moved forward into our awareness, where we can constantly look at it and see it, that we are constantly reminded how powerful our imagination truly is, in order to apply it, because it needs to be applied. So Jung attempted, and he understood, but he dedicated his life to defining the human psyche and to understanding the human psyche in a phenomenal way, because his legacy is profound. And he was a scholar of the real. He was looking for the real, and he wasn't prepared to even accept. And that's why I say to you today, we need to now accept and embrace that life going forward is going to be dimensional. So you're going to be enter into different dimensions of life in your journey daily. You can move from one dimension to the next in a slick. If you're at work, you're in another dimension of reality. That reality has no inkling what your reality at home looks like. It's two different worlds. And that's how you need to start. It's not a segregation, it's an awareness. Because in each one of those realities, you need to be aware of the basic terms of agreement, terms and conditions, T and C's, as they call it on the radio ads. T's and C's apply. On each one of those dimensions that you occupy, T's and C's apply. So Tesla was the master of energy when he was on the earth. Early 1900s, I think he passed. But he was the master of energy. And he was actually employed by Edison, who Edison didn't discover the first, the lamp as he is credited with. It was all Tesla's work. But because he was employed by Edison, Edison had the right to claim it as his own. So Tesla was the master of energy and free energy. He created free energy right at the start. But because the need for fossil fuels was already established on the earth, and the greed thereof prevented free energy to become available to the earth. And for that reason, we have created absolute havoc on the earth with pollution as we have done. So the bounty of our earth is free. It's free. It has always been free. So it was stolen from us by greed, forced us into fear that ended up in suffering. So it was stolen from us because remember that that's a prevailing energy on this planet. This planet is the T's and C's. Part of the T's and C's of this planet is that things get stolen by the animals, by the people, by plants. I mean, I was watching a plant, how it was actually stealing the other plant by it was just totally almost like strangling it the way it grew up. It stole its growth. It stole its ability to reach up to the sky as well by holding it down. So it's very much a planet right down to the plant kingdom, to the mineral kingdom. This is a planet where things get stolen. So that's why we live the way we do, because it's the way it works here. It's got nothing to do with anything else. But we need to honor that. And we need to be able to evolve beyond that, because that's the way it's meant to be. But unfortunately, we haven't managed. So stolen from us was by greed, because greed is driven by the need to steal. So that's where greed comes from. It has its source in stealing, and stealing was here on the earth when it was created from day one, because that's how it works. It's the survival of the fittest. So it's not seen in nature as stealing, it's seen in nature as an entitlement. So stolen from us by greed, forced us into fear, and therefore we ended up in suffering. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Why does hate lead to suffering? Because it's the opposite of who we are. What we truly are at source is caring and love, because it's only through caring and love that we've made it thus far. If nobody cared, the human race wouldn't have evolved to this level. We would all have been extinct already. It's because of one person that cared somewhere in our heritage, in our lineage, that we are still here. So you don't underestimate the power of caring. And that's really the whole purpose of mastering energy, is to care with that energy. And that was one of the things that Nikola Tesla wanted to achieve with his life and with his inventions. He wanted to care for the planet with that, but he was prevented. So when you look at the word real, and it only struck me when I was preparing for Sunday Energizer yesterday during the day, I was absolutely amazed that real, when something is real, it's not subject to duality. So when you're dealing with real, you're dealing with non-duality. The real is non-duality. And this year, we were meant to overcome duality in 2022. It's a master year, and to be able to overcome something as powerful as duality, which is duality has been the driver and the the source of all experiences on this planet since the beginning. And now consciousness demands of us to go beyond duality, because we now need to ascend to the next level of consciousness, which is not going to be about this or that. It's going to be about a blissful, enthusiastic, wonderful, ecstatic energy, because ecstasy is the new frequency for this planet. It's not because I say so. Life will teach you. Life will show you, because it's not about what I say. But now, how simple is it to overcome reality? All that you need to do is to be real and to live in your authenticity, because then you won't have to be this or that, or you won't have to please people, and you won't have to ask, am I doing the right thing? You'll trust yourself because you're real, and you trust the process of your life. Why? Because you know that you're doing your best. You know that you're considerate. You know that you are generous. You know that you reassure when needed. You know that you appreciate and that you can express that appreciation. There's no need for you to fear anything. You have everything. Everything. So the real is how you live with non-duality, to become real and to be true to who you are. I mean, that requires no effort. It requires a tremendous amount of effort from you to be able to think about, um, or to go through endless, uh, analyzing, lying awake, worrying, making excuses, justifying to yourself, when all that you can do is just be real. And I was real yesterday. I was real with someone that I was sharing myself with. I was real as can be. And you know what I thought afterwards? I thought, oh, how can you do that? How can you let somebody that you don't even know see you like that? And it's not someone that I know, but it's someone that I trusted in that moment. And I was amazed to see how quickly, when we've opened ourselves to that level with someone, how quickly we're going to doubt of it and thinking, oh, now they're going to talk to other people about that and say, oh, Charlotte, I saw Charlotte like this and I saw Charlotte like that. And immediately I go into all these assumptions of how I will be compromised because I've opened myself and shared my vulnerability. Look at the illusion that is presented to us, the certainty of illusion, because it's not true. And I thought to myself, I stood at the zinc and I thought to myself, even if it is true, is that not okay that I can be used as an example of whether it's for that person an inspiration or a lesson or or can we not be that for each other in life, so that we can stand out, or that we can show up as an example? And it's not necessary to think of it as a good or a bad thing. It's simply just that your name is being used where there's a lesson. an opportunity to learn a lesson. So I want to share with you today, and I'm not going to make it a very long session. I think we'll be here for less than an hour today because it's Christmas time and everybody wants to relax and rest. So here is 30 pieces of wisdom from Nikola Tesla. And for me, of all the years that I've lived, and I really know nothing, but for me, I've met two masters that I can truly say that when I look at their legacy, I can see that they have truly come to this planet with an assignment which was manifested. The one is Mahatma Gandhi. You know that India has overtaken China in the number of people that live there, the population. India's population has overtaken China's, if it was true what I heard on the radio. And they are also emerging as the most powerful IT nation of the world in terms of IT skills. That's why most of the hackers and scammers are all from India, because they know exactly how to do this thing. Be that as it may, that is his legacy of his people. He freed his people into being and growing into a nation which I feel can even become like a United States of America in the future. And wouldn't that be lovely? Because there's so much wonder and connectedness and truth in the religions that are practiced in India. If we can just practice those religions peacefully and with consideration of each other, that would be wonderful. So Nikola Tesla is often called the man who invented the 20th century, and there are lots of good reasons for that. And yet he's still not nearly as famous as some of his contemporaries, like, Albert Einstein or, you know, Nikola Tesla was a Serbian American inventor, engineer, physicist, and futurist who is most well known for his design of the modern alternating current electric supply system. He immigrated to the United States in 1884 to work with Thomas Edison in New York City. But with financial backers, he was able to set out on his own eventually. In the end, he died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. He died of a coronary thrombosis, and his work covered up to decades. I mean, he was busy. He dedicated his whole life. So recently, there's been an awakening in interest in his life. There are some of his quotes here that I'm going to share with you now that he specifically left behind in his writings. And for me, when I read through them, I just wanted to share them with you today because I think they are such a profound way for us to consider starting this new cycle in 2023, which is going to be a year of energy, of vibration and frequency. The sacred trinity within yourself is to master the vibration, the frequency, and the connectedness. So it's imperative for us now to become connected. And to become connected, you don't do it on a recording, you do it in person. You do it by word of mouth, by honoring word of mouth. Even if it's in a medium like this, you must honor word of mouth. That's how teachings were done throughout the history of man. And in many ways, we now need to honor the old ways, the archaic ways that we deem to be outdated. We need to honor those because it's a candle that gives us light in the darkness. And candles have been used by us for thousands of years, but we are now using candles in load shedding. So, or at least it's a backup for us for light. So don't underestimate the value of teachings that are very, very old, because most of them is based on truth, and truth is the guarantee. Truth is the consistent reassurance that we have. So number one, let the future tell the truth and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future for which I have really worked is mine. I'll read it again. Let the future tell the truth and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future for which I have really worked is mine. Number two, the last 29 days of the month are the toughest. Does that not sound familiar? No wonder this man is a master of energy. He knows exactly how it works. The last 29 days of the month are the toughest, especially in December. Right. Number three, fights between individuals as well as governments and nations invariably result from misunderstandings in the broadest interpretation of the term. Misunderstandings are always caused by the inability of appreciating one another's point of view. Because really it is a point of view in the greater scheme of things. Because when we have these misunderstandings and these disagreements, because it's the disagreements when someone does no longer agrees with me, that's the source of misunderstanding first and foremost. Secondly, then the mind switches into another mode, and you can go and test yourself. My word is my honor. The mind switches into another mode, and in that mode, you only hear what you want to hear. Once you're into this misunderstanding mode and into this mode of your point of view, and you are now in effect, because you are disagreeing, and you are right and they are wrong, and you are reasonable and they must change their mind and they must see it the way you do. Those kind of misunderstandings is what sets people apart, and that creates separation to start with. But it's a misunderstanding, and people will never speak to each other again for their entire lives. I had a situation with someone this week where a misunderstanding on WhatsApp again caused such a complete and utter, I don't know, disastrous result for everyone. And the strangest thing is that so few people are willing to take it further. They just leave it on WhatsApp. And even by invitation to say, people plug into misunderstandings and to accepting the interpretation that they've given the situation without even considering that there's another option, there's another point of view. And when you can step out of your point of view, you can step into a viewing point where you can now see everything, not just your little point of view. You can see the cosmos. That's why the space is called the cosmic kitchen. I mean, let's face it. Imagine what the kitchen's going to look like that provides sustenance and nourishment for the entire cosmos. Can you imagine? I can, because I live there. It's what I call this space sacred space, but it's the cosmic kitchen. So the fights between individuals, really, he says, individuals, governments, nations, invariably result from misunderstanding. And it's the broadest interpretation of the term. A misunderstanding is always caused by the inability to appreciate what someone else is feeling or seeing or going through. Another person's point of view, another person's experience of this reality called life. So number 4. Number 4 says, peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment. So what Nikola Tesla says here in essence is that we cannot expect to live in a world of peace where there's not going to be, in other words, we need to lighten up. We need to lighten up because we are suffering and we sweating the small stuff, as Dr. Carson says, you know, we're sweating the small stuff and there's no need. But in order to stop sweating the small stuff, we need to bring about a universal enlightenment. And you can only bring about that universal enlightenment by your own example, by you being the one to show how that feels, because other people will want some of that too. Because it's good, it feels flippin' nice, it feels strong, it feels connected, it feels together. Not because of what's happening in your life, but because of who you are and who you be. Because no matter what happens in your life, it cannot detach who you be. And who you be will always show up. But very often, true colors is revealed through difficulty. And now I become very difficult when I'm facing difficulty. I go and I'm constantly concerned. Is it going to be done? Is it going to get done? How much of it will I have to be doing by myself? And how am I going to manage to do it all myself? And my mind just runs away with me. Cancel that thought. And in 2023, I really want to make a concerted effort to change that. Peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment. And enlightenment is not this new agey term for being an empath, you know, whatever the label is that makes you special. No. Enlightenment is that you become lighter in, you know, a lightened, a lightened state of being, a lightness of being, that you can rise, that you can ascend like a hot air balloon. Number 5. The scientific man does not aim at an immediate result. He does not expect that that his her advanced ideas will be readily taken up. His work is like that of the planter for the future. His duty is to lay the foundation for those who are to come and then point the way. He lives and labors and trusts. The river never flows without its source, but the river also doesn't drink its own water. River doesn't have an orchard to, to wet and to nurture and to water. The water is the water. Your work in 2023 must be that of the planter, that you start making choices that's going to give us a future on earth. We can't just sit in our little bubbles and accumulate and deal with our own little stuff. And, yeah, sure, it's the microcosm of the macrocosm, for sure. I don't dispute that. But I think that we need to start expanding and we need to start thinking of our own impact. Just like the question that I asked you at the start of the session when I said, what are you contributing to the completion of a 2022 that's spectacular? What are you contributing to the conclusion of another cycle on our earth, that we can start the next one for the better? His duty, your duty, is to lay the foundation for those who are to come. Because if we're not going to create a foundation for something in the future to rest on now, there won't be one, because there'll be nothing left of the earth. Number 6. Throughout space, there is energy. It is the energy static or kinetic. If static, our hopes are in vain. If kinetic, and this we know it is for certain, then it is a mere question of time when men will succeed in attracting their machinery to the very wheel work of nature. So it's about attaching the machinery, in this instance for me, is the driver. So attaching the driver to the very wheel work of nature. Can you plug in your current driver that's driving your life into the bigger, let's say, the cosmos, the nature? If lets me use just my garden, can I plug my current drivers for my life into my garden, and will everything benefit from that? Because very often our drivers are things that takes us away from our destination, takes us away from our desires. What are you planting for the future? How are you creating your future self by what you're feeling or doing or expressing or sharing today? And yeah, he continues in number 7. Isn't this beautiful? Every living being is an engine geared to the wheelwork of the universe, of the cosmos. Because everything's like wheels and cogs, it all fits together. So every living being is an engine geared to the wheelwork of nature, through seemingly affected only by the immediate surroundings. The sphere of external influence extends to an infinite distance, but we think it's only affected by its immediate surroundings. But he says the sphere of external influence extends to infinite distance, because energy knows no time and space. And we can only perceive things in terms of distance at this stage. Number 8, this planet, with its all appalling immensity, is to electric currents virtually no more than a small metal ball. I'm going to say that to you again. This planet, with all its appalling immensity, that's what he calls it, appalling immensity, is to electric currents virtually no more than a small metal ball. Number 9. Though free to think and act, we are held together like the stars in the firmament with ties inseparable. These ties cannot be seen, but we can feel them. Now, that's one of the things that we need to consider for 2023, is that we need to up our ability to feel things. And that's exactly what we've been doing up until now, and most people pay a lot of money to be able to do that through medication, through chemicals that they want to decrease their ability to feel. And now it's asked of us to increase our ability to feel, because that's the way we're going to be able to connect with the energies of the cosmos going forward. That's why ecstasy is the new frequency, because when you're in ecstasy, you're connecting with all energies and you're just up vibing it. So this planet, with all its appalling immensity, is to electric currents virtually no more than a small metal ball. Number 9. Though free to think and act, we are held together like the stars in the firmament with ties inseparable. These ties cannot be seen, but we feel them. Number 10. In the 21st century, the robot will take the place which slave labor occupied in ancient civilization. Because there are things that needs to be done perpetually and ad infinitumly that robots can do satisfactorily. So just think now in terms of global population, when robots will be doing the majority of the work on grassroots level, basic, uneducated, perpetual, same everyday work that requires no intelligence or education. Robots will do those. Think of the implication in terms of the future. Number 11, the spread of civilization may be likened to a fire. First, it's a feeble spark. Next, a flickering flame. Then a mighty blaze with an ever-increasing speed and power. We're seeing a lot of blazes on the planet at the moment. Lots of fires. More than what I've ever seen before. Mostly it's destroying the trees, which is the source of our oxygen. So our senses, number 12, our senses enables us to perceive only a minute portion of the outside world. He calls it outside world, but permeating universes. So our senses enables us to perceive only a minute portion of the outside world, a minute portion of the outside world. Number 13, our virtues and our failings are inseparable. Our virtues and our failings are inseparable, like force and matter. When they separate, man is no more. Number 14. I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. Isn't that profound? I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. Because that's really why we're here. And I've said that since the beginning in my work when I first started. Because it was something that I was absolutely following. I wasn't going to base my work on what anybody else. There's nothing new under the sun. So there's nothing that I can claim as this is only, the processes I've received that I treasure, that I feel that was guided and that was given to me. Even that, it speaks to a universal truth. So I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. Bring to this new 2023 your unique contribution. What is real for you? Even if it feels that it's the same as someone else's, it still has your fingerprint on it and it's still uniquely yours. You know, like Eckhart Tolle says about his book, The Power of Now. He says when he received the guidance to write The Power of Now, he still said to his guide, you know, or whomever he speaks to, he said, you know, I can't write a book on The Power of Now. Uh, you know, there's so many books written about it already. And the response was, but there's never been one that's been written by you. And he wrote The Power of Now, and he was a tomato farmer, I think, something to do with tomatoes, strangely enough. I don't remember exactly, but I think he was a tomato farmer before he wrote the book, The Power of Now. And look where he is today. I think The Power of Now is one of the most translated books of this new century. So number 15, money does not represent such a value as man has placed on it. All my money has been invested into experiments which I have made new discoveries with, enabling mankind to have a little easier life. Money does not represent such a value as men have placed upon it. Number 16. Of all the frictional resistances, the one that most retards human movement is ignorance. What Buddha called the greatest evil in the world. And is it not interesting that we say ignorance is bliss? I think not. Number 17. Instinct is something which transcends knowledge. We have undoubtedly certain finer fibers that enable us to perceive truth when logical deduction or any other willful effort of the brain is futile. Let me read that for you again. Instinct is something which transcends knowledge. We have undoubtedly certain finer fibers that enable us to perceive truth when logical, left brain, logical deduction, or any other willful effort of the brain is futile. It cannot reach there. Instinct is something which transcends knowledge. It transcends what you know you know. It transcends what you don't know that you know that you don't know. You know? It transcends what you don't know. It transcends what you know that you don't know. It transcends what you don't know that you don't know. It's beyond all of that. Instinct is something which transcends knowledge. It cannot be understood. It can only be experienced. And here Nikola Tesla says it, because instinct, for us, instinct, intuition, no? Because I'm not making a distinction here between instinct and intuition. For me, the instinct and the intuition here is the same. Although, if I take instinct and intuition, I'll give it two different meanings. But in this instance, I'm not. I'm saying instinct is something which transcends knowledge. And in this instance, correct, instinct is primal. It transcends knowledge. Number 18. It is paradoxical, yet true to say, that the more we know, the more ignorant we become in the absolute sense. For it's only through enlightenment that we become conscious of our limitations. And that's really the journey through the school with me, is we constantly explore our limitations, because the limitations that we've accumulated in human form throughout the existence of humans on this planet is legend. I mean, it's it's immeasurable. And every one of those limitations also has a huge potential in you if it's given the environment in which to prosper. It's through only, he says, it's only through enlightenment that we become conscious of our limitations. And precisely one of the most gratifying results of the intellectual evolution is the continuous opening up of new and greater prospects. That's what you want to see in your life. And it's not going to happen the way you think. But you need to see that there's a pattern or something that indicates not only gratifying results, because gratifying is a form of satisfaction. You feel good about it, and therefore you feel at peace about it. So, precisely one of the most gratifying results of intellectual evolution is the continuous opening up of new and greater prospects. And you must continuously see that in your life, that your life is continuously showing you that there's new and greater results. Whatever it is for you, it can be the smallest thing for me, but the biggest thing for you. It can be the biggest thing for you and the smallest thing for me. There's no measurement as such, but it's the significance with which it spearheads your life into a state of blissful existence. And Sadhguru continuously says, would your mind choose suffering or would your mind choose bliss? It's simply just a thought, and a thought can be changed. So number 19 says the individuals is ethereal, and races and nations come and pass away, but man remains. Therein lies the profound difference between the individual and the whole. I'll read it to you again. Number 19, Nikola Tesla. That's his words and his teachings, which still speaks to us today, as if he was standing in front of you like I am today. He's talking to us. Are we listening? The individual is ethereal. Races and nations come and pass away, but man remains. Therein lies the profound difference between the individual and the whole. And please, in this instance, man does not indicate sex or the difference between a male and a female. Male and female still includes the word man, male, is what it's indicating. That's not a separation or a judgment. The word man here represents human race. Man is inhuman, human God, man, human remains. So the individual is ethereal. Races and nations come and pass away, but man remains. Therein lies the profound difference between the individual and the whole. Number 20. Think of these and contemplate them in terms of 2023. Invention is the most important product of man's creative brain. The ultimate purpose is the complete mastery of mind over the material world, the harnessing of human nature to human needs. The harnessing of human nature to human needs. Because there's a complete abyss between the two. It's become so completely distorted that it's just gone completely off the rails. It's just destructive because it's not directed or managed. It's energy. It needs guidance here on earth. It needs to be managed. So invention is the most important product of man's creative brain. And you're going to need to be very, very inventive, creative and inventive, resourceful, tenacious with life going forward. It's going to be required of you. Here he tells us that that's the most important product of our creative brain. And if we're not going to get it and live it and learn it, it's going to be forced upon us in ways that we're not going to enjoy. 21. The progressive development of man is vitally dependent on invention. Just look at life so far. Life is your teacher. Number 20. Be alone. That is the secret of invention. Be alone. That is when ideas are born. When you are afraid of your own company and being on your own, you have some urgent alignments to give attention to. It requires attention. It requires management. Number 23. Life is and will ever remain an equation incapable of solution. Life is and will remain an equation incapable of solution, but it contains certain known factors. That's what truth is for us. It's a certain known factor that gives us a beacon. Like when you fly an aeroplane, you have a beacon that you fly to and then you change your course again. It's beacons for us in order to live a very good and successful and satisfactory and wonderful and ecstatic life. Number 24, the desire that guides me in all I do is the desire to harness the forces of nature to the service of mankind. So what he says is the desire that guides me, that guides him, Nikola Tesla, in all he does, the desire that guides me in all I do is the desire to harness the forces of nature to the service of mankind. And that is for me what the school is all about in the Cosmic Kitchen, is to master energy and to master and harness the forces of nature to the service of mankind, because that is free energy. Number 25, the scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly. One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. One must be sane to think deeply, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. Number 26. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. And mostly science regards everything that is, of spiritual in nature as a woo-woo. And here he says, the day science begins to study the non-physical phenomena beyond the 5 physical senses, beyond what we know in this galaxy, beyond the sun. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of all its existence. 2.0 in one decade. 27. It's starting to happen though. It's wonderful to see. I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success. Such emotions make a man forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything. Stay in determination and a single-willed desire to complete and to conclude. I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding into success. Such emotion, such energy makes a man forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything. You go beyond being human. And it's not forget. It's transcend. It's transform. It's dimensionality. It's a most wondrous shift in consciousness when you get it. Number 28. We're almost done. Today, scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. Number 29. Three possible situations. Three possible situations of the great problem of increasing human energy are answered by the three words: food, peace, and work. So I'm not wrong after all, but definitely food. I'm not sure about the peace yet. I get far too frustrated and worked up with the reality that I live in to be able to achieve that yet. I laugh at myself every day. And most definitely work, because I love what I do, and it's wonderful to sit here with you on a Sunday morning. Those of you that honor me with your presence, thank you. And last but not least, number 30, if you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe. If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, next year's a 3-year, of the 6 and the 9, then you would have the key to the universe. Next year is a very significant year. We've been preparing this year. We're preparing ourselves to become real and to share that fearlessly. So, food, peace, and work to you over the next foreseeable future. May you have an abundance of it, and may it bless your life. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me today. It was a wonderful, wonderful gift to share this with you. Thank you all. And if I can give you one little tiny bit of advice. I don't give advice, but I hold a mirror. But this is advice from my teacher to you. I'm just the messenger. Live life with no agitation in it, in absolute stillness, because life is a dance in absolute stillness. And blessings and life permits, that I'm still breathing and in this body, when I next see you, if I'm granted to continue living on this earth plane, then we shall talk about a little bit more about a Cherokee North American Indian practice, about how they do their dance, their sacred dance. So have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and may you be blessed by what you've received here today in more ways than you can ever begin to imagine. And just enjoy togetherness. It's such a wonderful gift. Thank you for all your support this year. Bye.
Thank you, Charlotte. Bye.
Bye.